The history of this. And I have to tell you, both my grandfathers fought in World War II. My one grandfather missed Normandy by 2 days, so I am extremely the what happened in World War II and the way that we had to rush and try and find a way to make these bombs and beat the other countries. I don't get into that because that's a whole separate conversation. But the fact is that when we were doing this, we didn't know we could. And so St. Louis was actually chosen because of our location on the Mississippi River and because we were in the middle of a country. We are not a city that can be hit by a sub, right?
Right.
And because of the whole Cold War situation too. We were it was us in Fernault, Ohio that were chosen. So there was a plant put in St. Louis,
Mhm.
downtown Malincrot, and then there was a plant built in Fernault, Ohio. And we call that our sister site. And what the government did is they went to Ed Malincrot and they asked him he already had ether that he was using down there, a chemical process, and they thought that that could be used to purify uranium. And would he be willing to give it a try? He said no 2 times. The third time he agreed, as long as the federal government gave him absolute, he could never be, Malincrot could never be held responsible for anything. So I actually have that document that they signed.
Wow.
It's really something. So they went and they brought all this radioactive uranium over from the Belgian Congo down the Mississippi to St. Louis, and downtown Malincrot they went and they processed the first uranium, and then it was sent to the University of Chicago, right? Because that's where Enrico Fermi did the experiment and was like, "Oh my goodness,
Mhm.
we can do this. This is totally doable. This works." But the documents that I have show that in the process, the federal government was willing to put our city in considerable risk. I actually have a document where Malincrot says, okay, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to be successful or the plant's going to blow up because of the ether process, right? That's highly flammable and
Oh yeah.
explosive.
Oh yeah.
And the government's like, do it. That's in a major city, and I doubt the citizens of St. Louis even knew that conversation. The
Existed.
mayor's not copied in, the governor's not copied in. That's the important thing. What happened in St. Louis happened without any of our permission. Nobody, no leadership. This was a military. It was a decision made over the top of our heads.
Hmm.
And we were considered okay casualties, like soldiers, like whatnot,
Mm.
part of the war effort. And so, yeah, this was mishandled partially because they didn't know how to, right? They were just doing this.
Mhm.
And when too much of that waste was sitting out at the airport, they were afraid that planes could come overhead and see it. So they moved, so they had to spread it out. They moved it to the airport. They built Weldon Springs, which was next to a school, because the school already existed. They thought, there's no way an enemy would think that we would put a uranium processing plant 100 feet from a school in an effort to disguise it. It's war effort. It was top secret. It was classified.
Right.
So by the time this became declassified and scientists and people knew about it, it had already gotten into Coldwater Creek.
Right.
So the damage was done before any of, sorry, I get a little emotional, anybody had any chance to stick up for their citizens. Because I have no doubt that they would have if they'd have known, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So that's the problem is when we're looking at why is this everywhere? Why is it taking so long to find it? Why even with that out about Westlake, why in 2 weeks is EPA coming out with brand new information about how much more radioactive waste they found? Why 70, 80 years later? That's why. Because the accountability part of the government is that we're probably the worst city that they did this to because there wasn't anybody local to
Mm.
stop them. They had no oversight. And I think that's what was missing was local government oversight, and the federal government made these decisions.
Yeah. Without. Hey, thanks for watching this short with us today. And if you like it, check out our full episodes on our channel and website. We'll put those in the links below. And as always, Scott,
Like and subscribe. Or subscribe and then like. Whatever order you want, really.
whatever order you like.
Yeah.
Thanks.